Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Could this be it? Possible. It's possible. Lamar Alexander last night, I think, surprised every single person who maybe thought he could be one of the few that would vote to hear witnesses.
We're trying to ask him, when did you make your decision? And he's like, oh, I've made it. And did you tell your Republican leader? Yes, I've told the leader. When will we find out? Within the hour. We're waiting for the statement. It comes, and he is a no on witnesses.
A no on witnesses. That's huge. Huge. Right now, probably 3. That's if, by the way, some Democrats don't defect, because that is always a possibility. You never know. Some of them might think to themselves, whether I believe he is guilty or isn't guilty, at this point in time, it makes no sense for us to keep this thing going on. Let's just get it over and done with. So let's just say there's only 3. Let's say it's 50-50, right? What happens then? Normally, the president of the Senate is Pence. Pence isn't allowed to vote in matters of impeachment, right? When it comes to the president. Why is that? Well, it's pretty simple, right? He could, A, be voting to keep his boss around. You would think, well, that's simple. Or B, he could say, well, I want to be president, so let's get rid of him. So they don't let him do that. So then it goes over to Chief Justice Roberts, who would be the decider. He's already said, you know what? I'm not getting involved. This is between you guys. I'm here to referee, but I'm not going to be the final decision maker in this, which means it would stay 50-50. 50-50 sounds like a tie, but it's a victory for the president because it's not a win, meaning that's it. It's over. It's done with witnesses, and they can move on and decide what they're going to do from there. The timeline that everybody is talking about could look like we could have it done possibly by today, tonight. That is a possibility, but I don't know. Lindsey Graham has something else.
Yeah, I'm increasingly optimistic that Republicans will move to a final verdict before Tuesday. The president will be acquitted in a bipartisan manner. We're not blocking anybody's witnesses. We're just not going to legitimize the House choosing not to call a witness, dump it in our lap, and put us in a spot where if you called a witness, you'd be dealing the courts out of judicial review of impeachment.
Yeah. So, and that's a lot of what some people are saying too, right? Which is essentially, let's just say we call a witness, and let's say some of them don't want to come. What ends up happening? Oh, my goodness. Next thing you know, it goes to court, right? And it goes to court, and it seems to take a little bit longer. All of a sudden, we're in a position where we're looking up, and it's 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks from now. They're still battling it out. Then the Republicans are going to call witnesses, right? I know what Schiff wants was just give us a week, right, for depositions. But people are asking the questions. First of all, you had opportunity to subpoena some stuff, and you guys didn't do it correctly. And then you didn't go back and redo it in the House. And then the Bolton question's still there.
The House considered whether or not they would try to have him come testify and subpoena him. They chose not to subpoena him.
No, because he had kind of given the signal that, yeah, if I have to, because you guys are subpoenaing me, I'll join one of the other lawsuits about not wanting to testify. In doing so, we'll see what happens from there. If they tell me I have to, I will go. But he's played this very coy, right? Again, he's selling a book. And his coyness is, I don't want to, but I will. But you're going to have to ask me nicely. I.e., you're going to have to send me a subpoena. Ooh. And I may take it to court, or I may not take it to court. I'm not quite sure. So he's done this weird kind of like he's doing this two-step here, two-step there. He's on the fence one side, jumps back over to the other side. He's playing it for all it's worth and milking the opportunities. Along the way, he's getting interest in his book. But he's the only one they really want to hear from. Right? Because he's got at least name recognition amongst the political people who pay attention to this stuff. Where people may go, oh, yeah. And I think the Democrats feel like, and I love the way they talk about him, too.
I'm worried that we as a nation are getting outrage fatigue.
Yeah.
But just think about this. The president's own chief of staff saying, I trust John Bolton, not the president, implicitly really just outing what we all know, that this president has lied repeatedly over and over again. And John Bolton, I disagree with him wildly on a lot of things, but he has a reputation in Washington for being such a straight shooter.
Yeah, he does. But there's also John Bolton's words that they would use against him. This ends up in the same place, whether it ends up in that place tonight or the middle of the day tomorrow, or they hold it over till Tuesday morning, vote on it early after Iowa, or they vote on it Monday. I mean, it's ending up in the same place. This will be the first impeachment where there are no witnesses called. How does that look for the Republicans? Right? But I also will say this. I think this right here, impeachment-wise, is easily the most politically motivated impeachment we've ever seen, and how fast it moved. Remember when this phone call took place, then the whistleblower came forward. And speaking of the whistleblower, right, they got into the tiff the other day, Rand Paul and everybody, and you know, look, I don't care about that, but some of the stuff brought up, the Washington Post went after Adam Schiff. So did USA Today. They said, You said you didn't have any firsthand knowledge, or you didn't really know, and they gave him like, yeah, you're lying there. I mean, so there's a lot of things that are in this. At the end of the day, though, it changes very little. We know exactly where this is going. We know exactly how this is going to end up. Nothing is going to change anything. Nothing. We are going to have an election in about 9 months. The American people will have the chance to be the great jury and decide if he stays or goes. And they reminded people last night how close this is.
It will be perceived, and is perceived by many in the country, as simply an attempt to interfere with the election and to prevent the voters from having their choice of who they want to be president for the next 4 years.
Yeah. I often try to remind people about what may take place here if they were to remove him. It's not just you're removing a president of the United States, right? It's not just that. You're canceling out people's elections, people's choices. That is a tough thing, right? Patrick Philbin right there is one of the attorneys for Trump. He just, again, he said, you know, America will have this decision. That's a big thing. America's making a choice. And if you're going to take away people's choices, that's what they're going to feel like. You took away my choice because you're partisan in the way you went after him, the way you came from. I understand what the Democrats see. I understand how they feel. But the reality is that's a huge thing. Remember, Nixon walked away. That's something to think about. He said, I'm done. He took away. And we were in a different time in our country to cancel out somebody's vote. And that's the way they're going to see it. That's ugly. That's a serious thing. You're thinking, all you're thinking about is, I hate him. I can't stand him. I despise him. He's all the things I stand against. He's all of it. You're thinking that. Well, the reality is that may be true, but you getting rid of him cancels out them, is the way that they're looking. And that's a big thing. That is a very big thing. I care about the truth and the Constitution. I would like to hear witnesses. I got no problems with that. At the same time, the president has every right to say, I have presidential privilege in certain aspects. And witnesses, I think, aren't going to help anybody and may hurt both sides in the long run. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Super Bowl this weekend. Super excited about that. Oh, my goodness. I was debating because I have a decent TV, but I'm like, I'd like to get a bigger TV. Do I get a bigger TV? Do I not get a bigger TV? I don't know. What kind of food am I going to have this weekend? People said, do you go to a Super Bowl party? Yeah, I have a Super Bowl party by myself. It's a perfect way to do it, right? I don't want people around. I like sit there. Winston will come in. He'll eat a banana. He'll sit there. Maybe I'll get him a little Super Bowl hat. We'll watch the games. That's it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And then we got Iowa on Monday, which is crazy. Things are picking up fast, and you got to think about this when it comes to Iowa. Do you want, if you're Schumer and them, do you think if there's no witnesses, let's just vote on this now and get it done with so we can get Sanders and everybody out to Iowa so they can start campaigning? That's something to think about if you're Schumer. Maybe you go right to Mitch and say, look, there's no reason for us to continue to do this. Well, and you'll just pick up the mantle and go out there all day and talk about how horrible they were. But at least get them back out there rather than trying to drag it on till the middle of next week. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. And, of course, check out the Instagram. I'm going to put up a really funny picture about some of the drinks that were served earlier this week at Wildwood, and oh my God, they're hilarious. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Wounded Paw Project, an amazing organization. Been working with them for a while. They rescue shelter dogs, turn them into service dogs, and they do that to help our veterans, our first responders, and their family. It's amazing, amazing things. Thousands of dogs are being euthanized in shelters across the country. So what Wounded Paw did is they combined their love of dogs and their dedication to finding a way to help veterans, and they built the Wounded Paw Project. Simple mission. Let's get our furry best friends to our nation's heroes and change lives. And that's what they do. Your chance to join is now. It's easy. Proceeds are used to protect, advocate, and transform shelter dogs and service dogs for veterans, first responders, and their family. You can donate. Turn your extra car, truck, RV, even a boat into a vehicle for change. They also take cash donations as well. You get a great tax-deductible gift. Find out what you can do. Call 844-678-4PAW, 844-678-4729, or visit woundedpawproject.org. Woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
All 65,000 seats at Hard Rock Stadium are expected to be occupied on Sunday evening at kickoff time. And nothing about this game is cheap. The average resale price for tickets is approaching $7,000 on SeatGeek, easily beating last year's Patriots-Rams contest. As for TV advertising, the going rate for a 30-second commercial is around $5.5 million.
So, how much? Well, it's going up. Closer it gets, the higher the prices get. Kansas City Chief fans are definitely pushing it up. They haven't been in the Super Bowl, well, since Super Bowl II. So, think about that. It's been 50 years. Yesterday, so out here in Phoenix, somebody won Super Bowl tickets from our station. And they came in to pick it up. And I was talking to the guy. I said, are you going to sell them? He's like, I'm going to take my kid. I'm like, do you really want to take your kid? You know, not that you don't want to take your kid. He goes, no, I do. I go, but I said, if somebody gives you $20,000, he goes, I'm taking the $20,000. I said, yeah. You know, I mean, because I said, if you don't have skin in the game, right? Like if you're not a fan, by the way, if you've never been to a Super Bowl, let me tell you, most of it is occupied. A good portion of it is by corporate people, right? So it's not the fandom that we would think, right? You go to a Chiefs game or you go to a Seattle game, right? Or you know, you would think, oh my God, it's crazy. No, it's not like that. National championship football game was here a couple weeks ago here at, in Glendale, University of Phoenix Stadium. It was all fans with some corporate, but not very many. NFL is very corporate. Very, very corporate. So that's why there's not a surplus of tickets, because most of the tickets that people get their hands on in the secondary market is there's not a lot. So those fans drive up those prices. But I told him, I said, dude, somebody offers you $20,000, $30,000. Are you going to take it? He goes, oh my God, are you kidding me? Yeah, my kid's in college. We'll watch the game. Maybe we'll get a giant screen TV and get some food and we can watch the game. And I can pay for a part of his college. I go, be stupid not to. Make sure you pay your taxes. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. I love hearing from you. Iowa's this weekend. Trump last night was in Des Moines having fun.
We're having probably the best years that we've ever had in the history of our country. And I just got impeached. Can you believe these people? I got impeached.
Now, I tweeted something earlier. If you haven't had a chance, go check it out. It is hilarious. So Trump signed the USMC the other day. Now, we all go back to the signing of impeachment. You remember Nancy Pelosi with all the pens, and she would write one letter, and then she would put it down, grab another one, write another letter. So as a historic moment, and she was handing pens out. Trump at the USMC had a box of pens, and he just was handing out pens. It is hilarious. That's the stuff I'm like, oh, God, he drives me crazy. And I understand why they're trying to impeach him. I understand, their thought process in some of it. Do I think it's gone too far? Yeah, I think they overdo it with their Trump derangement syndrome, especially the likes of Schiff and whatnot. But his humor it's just hilarious. And he's just handing out pens. He's got this big box. Here's one for you. Who wants a pen? He's grabbing them in handfuls. I'm like, that's Trump right there. And people are like, I can't believe he's making fun of Nancy. I'm like, I can't believe she did what she did. Don't tell me you're not happy about impeachment when you're smiling as you're taking pictures. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Some more Super Bowl stuff, some impeachment, Iowa this weekend, and American Dirt. We're going to touch on that book and the controversy. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We know it can spread human to human. We know as of last night in an article that appeared in the New England Journal of Medicine that it can be spread when someone has no symptoms. They have tested a patient positive with no symptoms. We've all had a form of a coronavirus. It's responsible for 30% of the common colds. And right now, because they're testing this virus everywhere, it does not look like it's mutated yet.
And that's good. That's the fear factor. That's Dr. Jennifer Ashton right there. And then people want to know, because you hear about it. Okay, 30%. We've been touting that 30%. It's been around since the 60s that we know of. 30% of cold viruses are a form of it, but not this. The good news is in Australia, they've already essentially cloned or copied it, which makes it easier for finding a vaccination. But I've had a lot of people say, all right, how would you even know what it is?
Authorities say that the symptoms are fever, cough, and shortness of breath, and they're really paying attention to anyone who has traveled to or from the affected region. But they point out that these symptoms are very similar to the flu, which has been much more deadly. They say in the U.S. this season, more than 8,000 estimated deaths in the U.S. this flu season alone. 8,200
is closer to the number what it is, and that's just during this flu season. They expect anywhere between, bad flu season, 80,000, 50,000, 30,000. I mean, you're going to get into the tens of thousands with the deaths from the flu. And we talked about the fact that you've got type A and type B, and normally it goes type A starts first. It lasts a little bit longer. The second half, while shorter, is type B. They give you shots. They think about what's the flu season going to be like? And it's kind of a guesstimation of what shot they think that should be mass produced for, getting the flu shot. And normally it goes type A, type B. So this year's flu shot was primarily type A. And except it flipped. Type B was the one that hit early instead of type A. So you're seeing a lot of people the healthy people get, and young, like 20s, 30s, 40s, who have gotten the flu and passed away. Still more deadly. But there is that fear factor of what it would look like. And we think about just in the human toll, if it spreads and it's, we think about that. There's a lot of other ways to look at this. And it's horrible to say, but in the financial side of things, what a global epidemic would do to the economies around the globe and how that could hurt. And again, in China, let's be real. Do I trust 100% of what they have to say? I do not.
Pharmacies across Asia running out of face masks, and people are desperate to protect themselves. Inside China, an epidemic. More than 8,000 people are sick and more than 170 dead. More cases than the SARS outbreak that swept through that country in 2003. Hundreds of Americans are still stuck there trying to get home.
Yeah. It's again, ugly. And, depending on who you talk to, you get different kind of like people will say, all right, here's the real number, right? The Chinese are going to give you some stuff. They're not going to give you everything. And one of the other things is, and I talked a bit about this yesterday, you got to remember, you're in a communist country where the flow of information is extremely monitored. So there are a lot of people out there, when you see the panic in a place like China, they've got 9,700 cases, 213 deaths. That's what they're reporting. But we all know that reporting probably isn't accurate, even if they're trying to be accurate. And you can understand why people are afraid, because you don't know if the information you're getting, what it really is, what they're really saying, how bad it is or isn't, because the flow of that information is so monitored, right, and redacted before it ever gets out, changed. So I understand the fear. I do. Do I think anything's going to happen here? No, I worry more about it spreading to a place like India, right, or parts of Africa where they don't have modern, and I'm not even talking about even in places that are New Delhi or any of these things. I'm talking about places that are more rural, that it gets out there and it spreads, and you could see a real devastation because they don't have access to modern medicine, and that's a bigger fear. I don't think anything's going to happen here where it's going to spread overnight. Oh my God, it's like the Ebola virus. We're going to freak out. I just don't think that's going to happen. Right? That's just me. But you never know. And think about this. This isn't like there's a season, like we had the flu season, will be over. This will be ongoing probably for the next 6 to 18 months. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from every single one of you. What a day we could have over the next few days. And we got Iowa, we got impeachment, we got the State of the Union. It's just going.
At a time when large majorities of Americans have lost faith in government, does the fact that the Chief Justice is presiding over an impeachment trial in which Republican senators have thus far refused to allow witnesses or evidence contribute to the loss of legitimacy of the Chief Justice, the Supreme Court, and the Constitution?
It's kind of awkward. So that was Warren's question, Elizabeth Warren. So he's reading Chief Justice, because remember, it's a Q&A. You have to submit in writing to the Chief Justice the question. Then he reads it aloud, and then you have a chance to answer.
I would not say that it contributes to a loss of confidence in the Chief Justice. I think the Chief Justice has presided admirably. I don't think a trial without witnesses reflects adversely on the Chief Justice. I do think it reflects adversely on us. I think it diminishes the power of this example to the rest of the world. This is the remedy. This is the remedy for presidential abuse. But it does not reflect well on any of us if we are afraid of what the evidence holds.
You know what? That's an answer right there that Adam Schiff gave that I said, you know what? Kudos to you. I think that was an absolutely fine answer. I got no problems with that answer. None whatsoever. Chief Justice is there to be that referee. He's presiding over the case, but unlike, here's the thing. Earlier this week, Kobe Bryant passed away. And we talked ad nauseum about it for the first 3 days. One of the things about Kobe Bryant that was very amazing is the love he had of basketball, not just in his era, but he was a historian of the game. He respected the game. He respected all aspects of the game and all those who came before him. And that was vitally important about carrying the mantle, because he took it as such an honor, right? That's why the day before he talked about, he tweeted about LeBron James passing him, and that, that this is for him to carry this forward and keep the momentum of this moving forward in the game. Chief Justice Roberts is a super conservative guy when it comes to how he looks at the Constitution. He's a little bit more open-minded, I think, than a lot of people thought. Remember, when it came to the whole thing of Obamacare and all that stuff, but he's also one of these guys that, to him, above everything else, is the reputation of what's going on, the reputation of the Supreme Court, the reputation of Congress. He's kind of a less is more. He wants to let the law and everybody else's people work these things through for themselves, and them to be the last line of, you had every opportunity, but you just couldn't get it done, so there is no other place to go. That's why him being the deciding vote, he may not take a stand on either side, because in his thought, you guys should be deciding this. You're the representative of the people, of the American people. They put you here. This isn't for me, a non-elected official, to decide. This is for you. So he's got this real, he's not into taking up other cases that have been before the Supreme Court. He doesn't want to do that. A lot of times you'll see him push, the Supreme Court will push stuff back down to the lower courts because they'll go with those rulings. They do get involved, obviously. That's why it's so important what the Supreme Court is. But he is definitely somebody who worries about the standing of the Supreme Courts and the rulings before him and getting too involved. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Iowa. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting in Iowa. I'm telling you guys, I couldn't tell you what is going to happen Monday. Somebody with a B, I predict, is going to win. It's Biden or it's Bernie. But it's going to be interesting for sure.
First thing I will do if I'm elected president, not a joke, after the results are in and it's official, I'll be on the telephone calling every major world leader who's our ally to say we're back.
That's what he's doing. He's calling every major person saying we're back, because he's going to go, we haven't left. We're just back now in a different way than the guy before, right? And no matter who the president is, after Trump is either roundly beaten in November or wins another thing, somebody's going to come after him. It may be one of these people. It may be 4 years from now, and none of these people are involved. And guess what? They'll have their own way they want to govern and run things. Then, you turn and you look at other things and the amount of money that's pouring in right now in this final weekend to get ads across everywhere in Iowa. And that is very interesting, because some of the stuff that's going on, because now it's getting to the point where the Republicans aren't really involved. I mean, Trump is doing his thing, but it is a battle right now for the Democratic nomination. And they've now said, okay, the gloves are off, the knives are out, and we're on.
Several recent polls show it could be a dead heat between Biden and Bernie Sanders. Sanders is now the target of a new ad from a pro-Israel Democratic group challenging his electability and his health. Sanders firing back on Twitter, arguing the ad is a sign the Democratic establishment is getting nervous.
The big money interests can run all the negative ads they want, but it's not going to work.
Tonight, several Democratic candidates remain trapped in Washington for the impeachment.
Yeah. Does that hurt him? I think it does. It would hurt him if it was later on down the road and they hadn't spent a lot of time in Iowa. That's the one thing that they have done, because Iowa's first. So you're prepping. You already know where you're there throughout the months leading up to it. So that doesn't hurt him as much as it could. But talk about money. $100 million in the last 2 weeks, I think Bloomberg spent. And the new NBC Wall Street Journal poll has him polling like third or fourth. Like, I've seen him in Florida at 2. He's number 2. He has risen in the polls big time. And he's making noise. And I've said he can be a disruptor, and he's going to be a disruptor. I just feel that he's going to be a much bigger disruptor than a lot of people think. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. MyPillow. Yes, they've got towels. Yes, I take my towels with me. Why? Because the towels are just so much better than a lot of those horrible hotel towels. Oh, my God. These things are great. 5 luxurious colors to choose from, right? Big, fluffy, super absorbent, 60-day money-back guarantee, 30% off right now, special introductory offer. These things are so awesome. They're big. You're wet, then all of a sudden you're dry. It's that simple. And now's your chance to save big. I love them. You will too. You get towels, hand cloths, washcloths. You're going to love them. And again, luxurious fill. There's no cotton fillers. It's 100% USA made cotton. And the 60-day money-back guarantee. They're putting their money where their mouth is. Now's your chance to save. Go to MyPillow.com. Click on a new radio listener special. When you do, you get 30% off these amazing towels. That's MyPillow.com, new radio listener special. Enter promo code Benson to save big. MyPillow.com, new radio listener special. Promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
They want to nullify your ballots, poison our democracy, and overthrow the entire system of government. That's not happening, I can tell you that.
Trump last night, where? Iowa. Why? Because. That's why. They've got a caucus on Monday. Trump's like, where should I go? Iowa. That's where you're going to go. So you've got a no from Lamar Alexander, who the Democrats thought they could get. And he's retiring, so he's got nothing to lose. Right? You've got a yes from Collins and Mitt Romney and then Murkowski. Doesn't matter what she does at this point in time. If those were the 4 you were counting on, it only takes one to upset the apple cart. Then you've got Doug Collins and Kirsten Sinema. Both of them may say no as well. But a tie, at this point, it doesn't matter. At this point, none of it matters. If that's the way it's going to go, you needed 4, you only get 3, it's 50-50. Now, I won't believe any of it till I see it finally done. But without witnesses, there's nothing new that potentially could sway people. And that's a potential. So without witnesses, put this thing to bed tonight. That's just it.
Republicans want to get out of here, so they are really looking to, condense this calendar rather significantly. We've talked to sources who say it could be in the wee hours of Saturday morning.
Yeah, which is what I think is a possibility. Because once they have the vote, and again, you get 2 hours. Each side's going to get 2 hours. So here we go. They're going to get 2 hours, then you get 2 hours, and there'll be a break in between. They'll mull it They'll talk about certain stuff. But at that point in time, Mitch may say, let's get this thing did. Let's just get it did. Let's get it done. We're moving on. Let's get over. And there's always the possibility, knowing that Chuck Schumer says, can we just vote and get it over and done with and move on, because we've got people that are running for president. I'd rather see them out there than here waiting until Monday or Tuesday. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can definitely check out the Instagram. And again, I tweeted out, Trump drives me crazy, right? You guys listen to me, you know that, right? People say, oh, you're a Trump lover, you're a Trump hater, you're an apologist. I'm none of those things. When he does something that drives me crazy, I don't like, it's not all or nothing. And that's too much of what politics has become. But he did a signing of the USMCA, and he handed out pens like Nancy Pelosi did. And he's not just handing out one or two. He's grabbing them by the handfuls and just handing them out to people. It is something to see. Check it out at the old Twitter there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I don't know about you, but watching the news right now, watching the impeachment coverage, watching the Senate is exhausting. I live and breathe politics, and I find it exhausting. It's just gets you down. It makes you want to watch cartoons instead.
Absolutely. Yesterday, that's Pete Buttigieg being completely honest. Makes you want to watch cartoons. It's exhausting. It's tiring. Could be coming to an end late tonight, early tomorrow morning. The timeline. You get 4 hours, 2 hours each to go out there and do your thing, right? So they're doing that. And then, do they just decide at that point in time, because they're probably not going to have enough votes, right? Because Lamar Alexander said no. And once that was there, Chucky Baby and everybody started looking around and doing the math, right? They're looking around going, all right, they knew last night that was pretty much about as it comes.
We're trying to ask him, when did you make your decision? And he's like, oh, I've made it. And did you tell your Republican leader? Yes, I've told the leader. When will we find out? Within the hour. We're waiting for the statement. It comes, and he is a no on witnesses.
A no. That's an N-O for no. That's it, right? It'd be 50-50. How it works when it comes to impeachment is the vice president, who's the president of the Senate, doesn't get a vote. And the reason is because he could vote for his own best interest. I think we should get rid of this guy. I could be president. But he's also on the president's team, and they're pals. And he could say, well, we're keeping this guy for sure. So they wanted to take that out. So they turned to then the person who's presiding over this, which is Chief Justice Roberts, and he's probably not going to do anything. He's made it very clear that this is about the people that are asking and answering the questions and the evidence, and that should be handled by the Senate, which is a representative of the people. It should not be him. So 50-50 with no tiebreaker means no witnesses. No new witnesses. By the way, even with witnesses, it doesn't matter. We know where this is going. But no new witnesses means it's going to get there a lot quicker. It's going to get there a lot quicker. Some people are pissed at Chief Justice Roberts because they feel he will be that deciding vote that's choosing to not vote.
I'm on the side of history, and history will look shamefully upon this. History will look shamefully upon John Roberts. The way that he has sat there through this process, it's akin. You said he's sort of fading in the back. It's like, imagine being at a restaurant where you're getting really terrible service and you keep saying out loud, man, if only the manager would do something, and the manager's right there. And he's watching as you're being misserved and everything's coming out wrong. That is essentially what he's done.
I don't think so. Here's the thing about him. He's a study of history. This is a great referee, and that's what I look at him, right? He's a ref. Keep things on track. Make sure they stick to what they're supposed to be doing. That's it. Like a great referee. You know when you know what a great referee is? When you don't know there's a referee out there. When a referee makes himself or herself part of the game, part of the whole proceedings, overdoes it, that's not good. Right? You ever watch a sporting event where the refs call everything and it's just like, this is awful to watch? Now, you don't want a ref that doesn't call anything and then lets it boil over and it gets ugly. And we haven't had that. Where he's needed to, I think he's done okay. Right? But outside of that, the reality is this is the way this is going. And so it'll be over. It'll be done. And November will come, and there it will be. There it will be. The chance for the other jury to speak, which is the American people. And that's what a lot of people are realizing. But it was never going to change people's minds. Even if Bolton was up there for hours and hours, days, weeks, months, nobody's minds were going to be changed because their minds were made up when they chose for Trump or against Trump in November. Lo, those many years ago, it seems. Lo, those long years ago, back in the day, the minds were made up. Now it's on to re-election. What will happen there? One thing I've always say about Trump is this was not his biggest issue facing him come November. His biggest issue is the economy. It grew a little bit slower.
We found out that GDP growth last year, the year after his massive tax cuts to multinational corporations, staggered at a 2.3% rate. Look at that. The slowest since 2016, 2.3%. Under LBJ, it went up 5.3%, Kennedy 4.3%, Clinton 3.9%, Reagan 3.5%, Jimmy Carter 3.3%.
Yeah. Totally understandable. Economy's still going strong, right? But it wasn't the big boom that would help him, but it's not hurting. And that is the only thing that's going to slow, I think, the Trump train down at this point. The one thing about having witnesses that I think the Democrats would like is if there's anything they can do with those witnesses that would weaken Trump's reelection. But that also put other people inside of the Democratic Party in a position where they would have to answer questions. And that may hurt their election opportunity through the primaries and potentially into November of this year. There's nothing else. There's just nothing else that anybody's going to say that's going to change anything. This was always a battle of wills between the Republicans and the Democrats and their bases, and we're at the same place we were. Nothing has changed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Monday night, it starts for real. Iowa, the caucus.
I do not believe we're the dark, angry nation that Donald Trump sees in his tweets in the middle of the night.
We're not a dark, angry nation. I love that people to talk like how angry and bad. It's just what we are is we're passive aggressively a-holes to each other on social media. That's what we are. We're passive aggressive. We'll say some things, we'll do some things, right? Under the guise of stupid names on Twitter and on Facebook. But Facebook's different than Twitter. Twitter, you can react and act to so many things. Facebook, you're in your own little bubble. Right? And Instagram and social media itself has given us an opportunity to react to things in a much different way. But, man, I go everywhere. I talk to people of all walks of life, rich, poor, black, white, gay, straight. I mean, it's, Republican, Democrat, progressives. I don't see the anger. Are there people that are angry? Yeah, but it's a small amount of people that are angry. So Monday night, they're going to have their first opportunity in earnest to get busy, start talking about who they think should get these 41 massive delegates. I think you need 1,961 or 91 to win the nomination. Let's not forget about super delegates as well. Iowa's kind of chopped it up a little bit, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's very interesting, and the polls are very interesting.
Biden facing Republican fire at the impeachment trial, taking on the trial president hours before the president touched down for a rally in Des Moines.
I know you probably heard Donald Trump is coming to Iowa. I never saw another party have so much interest in a Democratic caucus.
Several recent polls show it could be a dead heat between Biden and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, somebody with a B is going to win this weekend, right? And somebody with a B is making noise in Bloomberg. Could be a surprise, may not be a surprise, you don't know. But it's definitely an interesting look at the final weekend. And I bet Sanders and Warren and everybody just want this impeachment thing over so they can get out there and press flesh, because on the heels of this, straight back out to New Hampshire, because we're just a little over a week after this. Like Tuesday, we got New Hampshire, and then it's on to South Carolina and Nevada, and then it really picks up steam, and the numbers start to get bigger and bigger, and then Super Tuesday, it's huge. This is it. This is it. It's now here. 3 months from now, 2 months from now, 60 days from now, we may be sitting and going, okay, we know who the nomination's going to. Or it could be crazy. We could be heading into the DNC with no clear winner because somebody like Michael Bloomberg will have stolen enough that it then becomes a battle. That's interesting. Speaking of battles this weekend, I'm excited. Superbowl. I'll give my pick a little bit later. I am excited. I was reading today about the kind of money that Mahomes, the young quarterback who's just going to dominate the NFL for probably the next decade plus, what he's looking at, because they're going to be raising the salary cap. As the new CBA comes, new TV money comes in, they're looking at another 25 to 30% on top of this salary cap. So that'll be huge. And the guaranteed money for him is going to be massive. Basketball money, they're saying. Basketball money's huge. So we're talking about $40 million a year. And he may be worth every penny. In fact, he may be underpaid. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Lightstream. What are you paying in interest right now on your credit cards, right? Every month. I'll tell you, it's too much, right? Too much. How about this? One payment, lower, fixed rate, start saving money. Yeah, it's easy. Credit card consolidation loans from Lightstream. Rates are as low as 5.95% APR with autopay. $5,000 to $100,000 loan. In many cases, you can get it the same day. You can do it right from your smartphone. It's so easy, and there's absolutely no fees. Several listeners said, hey, Chad, you know what? I was skeptical. I tried it. Guess what? Never did anything like this before. Absolutely easy. Got the loan within a day. You could be one of those people. Stop paying ridiculous amounts. Average APR is 20%. 5.95%. But get ready for this. I am going to get you even a lower rate just for being my listener. Go to lightstream.com/Benson. That's LIGHTSTREM.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offer subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. Chad Benson Show.
No
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? By the way, if you could hear what we're talking about off the air, and it wasn't anything bad, it's just bizarre. We were talking about Mennonites and the Amish community. Don't tell them, because they'll be mad. Oh, that's right. They don't have a radio. Because I saw a headline that says, Menonite midwife faces 473 years in jail. And we got taught, somehow, like, Kara's like, I read an expose. Next thing you know, we're talking about the Mennonite community and the Amish. Just, like, what? I know, exactly. Let's talk about what's trending. Number one on the Google, the Hummer EV debut. The Super Bowl ad's going to come out. It's a new Hummer, right? Apparently, it's supposed to be awesome. Electronic Hummer. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. 1,000 horsepower. Looks pretty awesome. I wonder what the going price is for it. It's going to be quieter. It's cleaner, right? Because electrical. This is going to be interesting to see. So that's because everybody wants to take a gander on what's it look like? What's it look like? Amazon stock. Amazon, by the way, yesterday, what'd they say? He made $3 billion or $12 billion in like 15 minutes or something like that. Bezos. Insane. Tom Brady. He had a cryptic message. People are still talking about that. It shows him in a nice, nice outfit, and it's foggy in the background, and it's a tunnel that he's walking out of, and it's Gillette Stadium where he plays, and it's just kind of him, and, there's the cryptic message. They think that he's bouncing and leaving, which I think is probably true. I think that's going to happen. Head on over to Twitter. Twitter, again, more political. Cowards. Brexit Day. Vote yes for witnesses. We want witnesses and documents. These are all things that are trending. Because there isn't going to be any witnesses. Not at this point in time. Could change. Again, I'm not going to say never. Because until I see the vote come through and it's done, I will not say never. But I find it hard to believe that Mitch wouldn't have put this in and come out and said if he didn't feel like it's pretty solid. And Miss Americana. Lots of scathing reviews about the Taylor Swift thing. Some of the stuff, self-critical, grown up, ready, perhaps to deliver a message beyond music, the New York Times says. Oh, I hope so. It's T Swift. Is that what we call her? So behind the music looks. It's 85 minutes of translucence with Taylor Swift. Ooh. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Super excited. Super Bowl. I like the ads. Some of the ads are already coming out, popping up across. But the big question is, what's it cost this year? Get your commercial in the Super Bowl.
As John Krasinski and Chris Evans try to sell you cars on Sunday.
Look who's got Smart Pack.
And Little Nas X and Sam Elliott chill for Doritos.
Make your move, cowboy.
Advertisers spent a fortune to try and grab your attention Super Bowl Sunday, as much as $5.6 million for a 30-second spot. And all 77 slots are sold out, and it's well worth it. In a time where TV audiences are falling in record numbers, the Super Bowl still easily pulls an audience of over 100 million. That's a lot of eyeballs watching Post Malone sell Budweiser.
So you got Bud Light
back there.
Be fun. Those will be fun. I just hate the fact they come out early, so we already know kind of what we're looking at. There's usually a few surprises, but still. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research, is going to join us straight ahead. Talk about Iowa, what it looks like, who does he really think has a chance, and what's Bloomberg's chance? Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's a happy bird because we call this impeachment light. This is light.
Trump is hilarious. Drives me crazy, right? Talking earlier, though, then he makes you laugh. And he does some stuff that's good. I even saw a Democrat the other day go, you can, on CNN or something, and I forgot who it was. It was one of their pundits, and the numerous ones that's on there. And she said, you can understand why people do like him, because take away all the drama. He says, I promise you this, and he pretty much goes and tries to get it done and squeeze it through. You know, the wall hasn't got done, and the wall that did get done, or at least partially replaced, fell over when the winds blew it into Mexico, but we'll talk about that later. I don't know if you can blame all of that on Trump, because he didn't build the wall, but whoever didn't do a good job. But when he comes places, even people that work around Trump make me laugh. So Wildwood, he was there around the Bolero Resorts Blue Water Grill in Wildwood when he had the Trump rally. Get ready for this. These are some of the drinks. The Margarita, the Subpoena Colada, Impeachment Punch, the Moscow Mueller, Russian Collusion, Absolute and Kahlua is that one. And the favorite of mine, the Sanders. You buy the drink for $8 and we give it to someone else who doesn't have one. I thought that makes me laugh. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So imagine this. This guy works for the government. He's a postal worker. His name's Jason. He's got a little trouble with some of his job. Apparently, it's overwhelming.
Stress and pressure. That's what caused a U.S. Postal Service employee to put mail into a storage unit instead of delivering it. It states he rented the unit for $49 a month, and when he couldn't finish his route, he would drop off the undelivered mail there. Jason De La Cruz was charged with delay in mail delivery by a postal employee. He pled guilty in court.
Because that's an extra expense. You know, why would he do that?
Because he's overwhelmed. He's stressed out. It's all too much for him. I don't think you guys understand. I got to take this and I got to put it there. I got to put it in that box. I got to take it out of the bag, and I got to take it and I got to put it in it's the box. It got to the point where he got himself a little storage unit, right? He didn't even just throw the mail away. He's got a storage unit.
He told News 3 that at first he intended to deliver the mail when he had time, but got overwhelmed, fell behind. Authorities found almost 5,000 pieces of mail in bundles, mostly advertisements. De La Cruz takes full responsibility for the crime. He didn't want to be interviewed on camera, but said the job just wasn't a right fit for him. And he didn't want to let anyone down, so he rented the unit.
I don't want to let anybody down. It's not a right fit. I'm more upper management. As you can see, I'm a doer. I'm a problem solver. So, Jason, tell us about your last job. Well, I work for the United States Postal Office, the agency itself. Tell us about it. You know, I'm a problem solver. It's really what I would like to tell you guys. I solve problems. Well, give us an example of problems. We got a lot of mail, you know, because it's the post office. It's called Post. And they would give it to us. And then I would go and I would put it in my bag or my little push-around cart. And it was a lot of it. And I thought to myself, this is getting to be too much. I've taken way too much on. I said, Jason, I have taken too much responsibility on at this moment in time. I have too much responsibility. But this mail, I just can't throw it away. So I thought outside the box, and I got a storage unit. Put it in there. You didn't deliver the mail? No. But I didn't throw it away.
This whole investigation began last May when someone saw De La Cruz at the storage unit. They pulled out their phone and started taking pictures of him. It states he's been working at the post office since June of 2018. He didn't steal mail, and the post office eventually got it sent out.
And ultimately, it's going to be on the judge if he's found guilty of a felony or what level of punishment he's going to receive.
I don't think he stole anything by the sounds of it. I've read a bit. I don't think he did. I don't think the post office wants him to go to jail. He just doesn't need a pension. He needs something else, right? He feels to me kind of like an Uber driver. Like, kind of make your own schedule. It's the pressure. It's a lot of pressure on me to get the mail there. It's a lot of pressure. You would think, right? Like, let's just say it became too much for you to get through one day. You say to yourself, here's what I'm going to do. I'll deliver as much as I can going in this direction. The next day, I'll start in the other direction so they get some mail and get as much done as I can. And then the next day, I'll start in the other direction. You figured you would try to think out the box like that, but he just was like, oh, this is it. This is my thing. This is as far as I go. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. We got so much stuff happening. We got Iowa. We got impeachment. We have the State of the Union. Let's not forget, State of the Union on Tuesday, right? Wouldn't that be such a Trumpian thing? If he says, hey, guys, come here. Right? So Mitch McConnell's, what do I want? And so everybody gathers around and says, all right, here's the deal. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, let's just get this done. Let's get it done as soon as possible. How about this? Let's tell everybody to wait. We'll reconvene Tuesday. We'll let them have their Iowa thing. And then Tuesday, right before State of the Union, will acquit me. And then I'll just run in there like a champion that I am. Probably going around. Is there any way we can do fireworks indoors? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Touched on this a bit yesterday, and I think it's going to become a bigger story. And there's a lot of things that in this story that I find to be interesting, especially when it comes to, well, essentially the creativity of the world. The book's called American Dirt, and it's causing controversy.
Now to the backlash over a pick from Oprah's book club. Some critics are calling out the novel American Dirt for how it portrays immigrants, even questioning the author's right to address this subject. And now the publisher is canceling the author's book tour, citing safety concerns. Gio Benitez has the story.
It's the highly anticipated novel that got publishing's most sought-after seal of approval, Oprah's book club.
This book, American Dirt, just gutted me. And I didn't just read this book. I inhabited this book.
She inhabited this book. It's an interesting book. It is. I've got it on my, my listen to. I haven't been able to get to, but I've heard some of it, read some of the excerpts. It's very interesting. But, again, the question is, do you have the right to write said book? Why all the controversy?
The novel, American Dirt, is about a mother who flees Mexico with her son, pursued by the head of a drug cartel. But it was quickly criticized by many Mexican-American writers who accused author Jeanine Cummins of writing an exploitative, oversimplified, and ill-informed novel, too often erring on the side of trauma fetishization. The publisher canceling the tour, saying, based on specific threats to booksellers and the author, we believe there exists real peril to their safety. Cummins has previously addressed questions about whether she's the right person to tell this story.
I resisted for a very long time telling the story from a migrant's point of view because I was worried that I didn't know enough, that my privilege would make me blind to certain truths.
My privilege. You're writing a book, right? It's your job. This is your fourth book. A lot of people praise it. A lot of people like it. But in this day and age of separate, and you can't do that because somebody says that you shouldn't be able to do that. because of whatever reason. I mean, I was thinking the insanity of some of these people. I mean, they're threatening bookstore owners, the publisher, and her. It's great, by the way, it's great for business because now people are like, oh, I kind of want to read this thing, find out what it's all about.
Cummins says her father is Puerto Rican, that she identifies as Latina, and that she spent 5 years working on the book, at times on the U.S.-Mexico border. But many say that's not enough. One person tweeting, I'm exhausted about our stories being told by white and non-immigrant writers or reporters. Most of them get it wrong and further dehumanize us and our experience.
Yeah, so that's what they say. Again, not everybody, but enough people have made enough noise that this is a book that's on top of Amazon, New York Times, selling like hotcakes. Again, Oprah, but a bunch of people sent letters to Oprah, authors, and said, you should not be endorsing this book because we have this is that cancel culture, right? This is the cancel culture of the world that we live in now, where we think you don't deserve to write a book like this because...
But not everyone is upset. Celebrated Mexican-American author Sandra Cisneros defended the book on NPR.
It just took me on the journey. It was very believable. And I know from talking to people who have crossed the border or who have been detained or who are in the shelters, I knew this story. I wanted to support it. I do support it, and I do stand by it.
Oprah now saying she wants to have a deeper discussion.
I've spent the past few days listening to members of the Latinx community to get a greater understanding of their concerns. And I hear them. I do.
Latinx. I had to ask, I'm like, Latinx? And the guys here is like, those are people who are just like gender neutral. So I'm like, oh, okay. But there's real questions here. It was one of the things. There's got to be a real question here about this is somebody who's come up with something, who's written a book, who feels that she has a voice. This is her fourth book. She's not unknown. And that, to me, that's where the conversation should go in this about, well, people are saying, should somebody like her even be able to write this kind of book?
And the publisher also plans to hold town hall meetings with the author and her critics. Now, I have spoken to so many on all sides of this issue, and one thing is clear, this is complicated, especially because there's not just one Latino experience. There's not just one immigrant experience. And so the publishing industry right now is asking who should be writing these novels.
And here's where I like George Stephanopoulos to come in here and say something that is really, well, quite frankly, sounds like the only person that's living in a world of reality.
Well, I get the idea of criticizing what's in the book. That's fair game whenever a writer puts that down. I don't quite understand questioning a writer's right to write something. That's basically the idea of all fiction, getting inside someone else's head.
And that's the debate right now.
Yeah, sure is. Thank you, Gio.
The debate? No, it's no debate. It's fiction. You want to write a book, you write a book. So if we're going to go on that premise, every time you have a character that's gay or that's a person of color, and do we have to go and say, well, can you write a portion? I mean, it's stupid. It is. This is the stuff that's going to kill creativity. This is the woke culture that is stifling, that are scaring people from telling jokes, that are frustrating people across the board, that are saying, well, we can't produce this. And this is the stuff where, I mean, it's ridiculous. It is. But this is what happens. And when you start questioning, do you even have the right to write a book like this? Wow. That's the stuff that scares me, right? That's the stuff in this country that scares me, is our crazy self-policing of insanity that we're putting ourselves through and walking on eggshells by saying something wrong, looking the wrong way, because it's no longer how it was meant. It's how it was taken. And to me, the more that we go down this hole, the harder it's going to be to get out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
What authorities have been predicting for more than a week has happened in Chicago. The nation's first person-to-person transmission of coronavirus. A man in his 60s got it from his wife. She returned from China January 13th, symptom-free, and felt sick 3 days later. Both husband and wife are hospitalized tonight in isolation.
Yeah, and the doctor that gave the big report yesterday said, look, it's not a health epidemic here in Illinois or anywhere else. That there's 6 cases here as of now. Oh, there may be a few more, but it's not anything. And they expected this because of the close proximity of the two being together. So not nothing to freak out about, right? Like, not at this point in time. But the coronavirus, it gets out there, right? Like, and you'll read how freaked out people are. You say, "Oh my God, what if?" It's nothing's going to happen. Not going to kill you. You're a strong person who lives in a modern society. The flu is more dangerous to you. If it mutates in some way, well, then that's different. But at this point in time, even people that are getting it, who don't have the access to modern technology, seem to be okay in surviving. Because as of now, the confirmed cases, 9,776. Out of that, 213 have died. And by a majority of those cases, out of the 9,776, 9,658. This number will change throughout the day. There's 60,000 people that are being monitored, plus I hear it's closer to 100,000 people. I hear this 9,700 is closer to 12 or 13,000. But you don't know because it's information coming out of China, and they're not really giving you all the information you think you'd get, right? They're a little lax on the information side of things. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Iowa, Monday.
If there's a big snowstorm in certain parts of the country, in certain part of the states, it could have an effect. So the caucus is you have to be able to come to a gymnasium, stay there for 2-3 hours, and it takes a lot of commitment. And we'll see who shows up. But I feel good.
He feels good. He feels good. Feels like it's going to be a good thing for him. He and Bernie, it's a sprint. Very slow. It's a sprint for them, right? But for us, it's more like a meandering slow walk. But they're sprinting. Go as fast as they can. I think it's going to be very, very close. Very, very close. Who will get the valuable 41 delegates? Who's going to get that? Who's going to grab that number? You need 1,900 plus. Who's going to grab it? Will it be Biden? Will it be Bernie? Will somebody surprise? I think that would be, I'd like to see a surprise. I'm always up for a surprise because I think the next two after that, New Hampshire is going to be all Bernie, and I think South Carolina is going to be all Biden. So this one is going to be the first one where you go, ooh, that was surprising. And if there's momentum that could be picked up, because if Bernie wins these first two, does okay, and then maybe does something in New Hampshire, Democrat Party could be sweating as much as I think a lot of people really don't want him. And as much as people are saying, I think they'd really be sweating. As much as he's saying they'd be sweating. 323-538-2423. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Will she or won't she? Doesn't even matter. Lamar Alexander said, now. What does that mean when it comes to impeachment? Well, it means simply they don't have enough to have witnesses called. You need 51 to be able to call witnesses. By all accounts, you don't have that. You don't have it. Lisa Murkowski, doesn't matter whether she said yes or no. Wouldn't have mattered, didn't care, nobody cares. Because the minute that Lamar Alexander delivered his nah. It essentially made it a tie. A tie that will not be decided by Chief Justice Roberts. Remember, in impeachment, it is not the vice president who gets the final say. Impeachment, the final say, if there is a tie, goes to the Chief Justice, the presiding justice in the matter. Because if you're vice president, you may vote, hey, you know what? I want to get rid of this guy because I'm going to be president. So, on the other side, you may say, he's on my team. He's my man. I'm taking care of him. Of course I'm going to vote. Whichever way he wants me to vote. Right? Up, down, sideways. Doesn't matter. So, none of it matters. None of it matters at all. It's the way it is. Welcome to the world of politics. Partisanship like we've never seen before. But as early as late tonight, early tomorrow morning, there's a good chance this will be over. And then everybody can focus on Iowa and the coming weeks of what is going to be a hard-fought Democratic primary season. And one that may have some interesting side things as well, including what Bloomberg may do or may not do. But for all intents and purposes, once Lamar Alexander said no, the Dems looked around in the room and they said, Collins, yeah. Mitt, yeah. We still don't know about two of ours, and Doug Collins and Kirsten Sinema, and then it doesn't matter at this point what Murkowski does. None of it mattered at that point because it's going to be 50-50. And if Chief Justice Roberts already signaled he is not going to take any side, it's going to allow them to finish it, which would mean a 50-50 tie. 50-50 tie means tie goes to the runner. Tie goes to the runner. That's it. Over. Doneward. Onward we move. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. I found this interesting from Meghan McCain. And I think she's in the camp of a lot of people when it comes to politics. But it also comes to this right here.
I just thought it was like sort of brave and candid for him to say that watching the impeachment trial, I too live and breathe politics. It is exhausting. I have found when I go home, I can only watch it for an hour and a half, something like that, where I have to change it because it's starting to affect my mood in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of the American public agrees. Mm-hmm. So I just think I hand it to Mayor Pete for saying what I think a lot of us are feeling. And, you know, we can have a conversation of whether that makes me a bad person or not.
No,
fine.
It doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah, she was talking about Mayor Pete. Mayor Pete came out and said, it's tough to watch. I'd rather be watching cartoons. He's right. It has been tough to watch. It's been very tough to watch. I love politics. I live, eat, and breathe politics. I absolutely love it. I love the craziness of it. I love the great old customs of it. I love how we have such crazy ideas and how our founding fathers put this thing out there and they did it in such a way that is just amazing, and the way that we've built our nation and our Constitution. But I also realize we live in a very modern world, and our modern world it's not that discounts the importance of it. It's the third time in history, but it's also showing you how partisan we are, but it also shows you how we ingest things. We're an instantaneous, super exciting. People can't even watch television old-fashioned style now. I mean, it's like that's. You mean you used to only have cable? What's remember? We'd go back VHS and Beta, and then right. Remember then there was before. I tell everybody we forget about the Laserdisc, but then that came in, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, remember that. Remember the Laserdisc? You'd get it, and you'd have to flip it over. That was totally a trip. Then we moved on. right? You got the DVDs and it's high def and it's all. Now it's like we want stuff instantaneous and we want to be entertained right now. This isn't any of that. This isn't any of that. For better or worse, this is just kind of as dull as it gets. And they're rehashing the same thing over and over. And the numbers have showed that. And it's not that I don't think Americans care, because I do think absolutely Americans care. But I think Americans are tired, and I think Americans are sick of the partisanship. And I'm talking about the everyday, go to work, own a business, work for somebody, husband, wife, single person, whatever it is that, whatever group that you want to claim, right? But just the everyday average person who watches politics in the snapshot way, but it's not in the forefront of their mind. Not the people that eat and breathe it, who identify as the red and blue, right? Either the Democrat or Republican. They're just not, there's nothing about this that excites him. John Bolton, I think, would be something new. But is he going to say anything new that's going to change anything? That I don't know, right? He's got a book. He's selling a book. How can you not think that some of the stuff that he's been leaking out, some of the excerpts of his book to the New York Times and stuff, isn't for also the book? Of course it is. Of course it is. So much so that the White House sent a bunch of stuff off saying, hold on a second.
The stark warning to John Bolton came in this newly revealed letter from the National Security Council. An NSC official writing Bolton's book manuscript may not be published in its current form because it contains significant amounts of classified information. 3 days later, the bombshell New York Times report that in the manuscript, the ousted National Security Advisor accuses President Trump of directly linking military aid for Ukraine to investigations of his Democratic rivals, including the Bidens.
Let's call John Bolton.
Yeah, but that's just not going to happen. And they know it, right? Schumer's coming out and saying, well, any impeachment of Trump without, an acquittal without the witnesses being called is meaningless. You didn't win. It is what it is, right? At the end of the day, you didn't win. And that pisses you off. But this wasn't about getting him out. Because they knew they were never going to do that. You could call 100 witnesses. They could all corroborate every story that you want the American people to hear. And I don't think you were going to ever get him to budge, anybody on that side to budge, at least let alone 20 of them, to vote for removal. So it's unfortunate. As great as our system is, we've also gotten to a world where we are so hyper partisan, so tribal, that it's tough to take anything that any of them say and say, okay, you're doing this for the right reasons. You're doing this in a nonpartisan way. It's just, that's tough. It's skeptical, right? And we become more and more skeptical on a daily basis. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. MyPillow gave me, so I got my pillows, and then they gave me a mattress topper. Best thing I've ever had. I love their mattress topper. It's my favorite thing. Right. Then they said, hey, we got towels. They got new towels? Yeah, send them to me. So they sent me some towels. Man, they're amazing. So then I ordered some. And I got some for my family. And they love them. You will love them, too. Now's your chance to save big. 30% off right now. It's a new introductory offer. The sets are awesome. 5 different colors to choose from. Luxury feel and look. Super absorbent. Extra soft and extra huge. 30 by 56 bath towels, 16 by 30 hand towels, washcloths as well. Made in the USA, 100% USA cotton, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. There's no cheap fillers or softeners, none of that stuff. You will feel the difference with these. Now's your chance. 30% off. Simple and easy to do. Go to MyPillow.com. Click on the new radio listener special. When you do, you're going to get 30% off these amazing towels. That's MyPillow.com. New radio listener special. Enter promo code Benson, BENSON. MyPillow.com. Promo code is Benson, or call 800-983-4975. Promo code is Benson. Chad Benson Show.
experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
At this point, there's enough information out there where authorities are taking the proper precautionary steps from certain countries where there could be some sort of outbreak.
Yeah, some sort of outbreak. I don't know what that outbreak's going to be in the coronavirus. I just think that we're on top of it. And again, it's a fluctuating number, but right around 10,000 or so, give or take, reports of it. And, you know, it's just the way that reacts. When you watch people and the way that they react to things like this, you know, how do they react? What is it about? Like, what's the worry? When you know, and that's the funny thing. You know, we talk about politics and disinformation and all of this stuff, right? We talk about all of that. But even when presented with facts, the average person still doesn't get it. We live in the safest time in human history. People don't care. Right? They think that the world's the most dangerous place it's ever been, and that's completely not true. Right? People are worried about the coronavirus. The flu has a better chance of killing you. You have a better chance of catching it. Doesn't matter. Right? I mean, we start breaking things down and we put it out there, it still doesn't matter. It doesn't. I'm not saying you don't think about certain things, but even when presented with actual facts, people don't care, right? So that's why I'm not surprised when you watch what takes place in politics and the disinformation. I'm not surprised by any of that. The people don't believe that. People don't believe the truth when you hand it to them because they have something that's ingrained in them. And that goes for politics or that goes for things like, you know, it doesn't matter what it goes for. Right? We fight over climate change. We fight over vaccines. We fight over whether it's okay to let your kid go across the street and play by themselves because apparently it's the most dangerous time in history, only to find out none of the data supports any of that. Doesn't matter. You know? None of it matters. Because for whatever reason, we believe it to be. Because somewhere we saw it. And that first mover that got into our brain, there's always that first mover advantage, right? That first mover advantage. It's been that way like in business, right? First person, the first mover, first person that gets out there tends to have the edge. And so when this information gets out there and then it becomes viral, even amongst your friends as you're sharing stuff that's disinformation about whatever, politics, pop culture, life, it becomes real, and then changing people's minds, even with stuff that's clearly presented to them, becomes virtually impossible. That's sad, but it's very, very true.
He hired spies for, in his words, days like this, said Harvey Weinstein as he left his New York City trial Thursday, where the woman he's charged with raping is set to testify today. The former Hollywood producer was responding to a reporter's question about why his private lawyers hired Black Cube, a firm founded by former analysts from Israeli intelligence agencies. Prosecutors claimed investigators used fake identities to gather information on Weinstein's accusers to try to stop news reports about his alleged sex offenses.
Yeah. And by the way, Black Cube, former Mossad agent, they get a job done. If you want something done, they get a job done. They ain't cheap. Ain't cheap. But yeah, just for days like today, right? And the upcoming days. So there's going to be a lot of information. And let me tell you something. There will be information on these women that not even the prosecution knows. They always say there's two sides to every story. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle. Very rarely is it black and white. Not that it can't be black and white, but when you are a defense attorney, your job is to make that truth not as black and white, make it very gray and muddy, and try to get people on the jury to say, I cannot say without a shadow of a doubt this.
LA's Mayor Eric Garcetti says the city is preparing a memorial for all 9 of the victims. The LA Lakers issuing a statement saying they are devastated by the sudden loss as they prepare to hit the hardwood for the first time since the tragedy tonight here at Staples Center. They'll be playing the Portland Trail Blazers, and there is expected to be another memorial sometime during the game.
Yeah, and the Super Bowl this weekend, this whole week, really, the Super Bowl has been kind of overshadowed by the Kobe death, and even this weekend there is going to be definitely some memorials to Kobe at halftime. Because Kobe is that big of a star and a presence.
At a press conference ahead of Sunday's show, co-headliner Jennifer Lopez says she didn't know Kobe Bryant well, but her fiancé, Alex Rodriguez, did.
And he was devastated. He knew Kobe very well. They kind of came up together.
She says Bryant's death has created
a sound around the world of we have to love each other and we have to be together and we have to support each other and we can't be so at odds all the time.
And she says Sunday's Super Bowl halftime show with her and Shakira will reflect that message.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. And, again, Kobe didn't play in the NFL, but he was that big of an athlete and that big of a star that he definitely took a lot of oxygen out of this week's run-up to the Super Bowl. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
This is your
I, you, he, she, it. Lucy is a girl.
Point of personal privilege. Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Shut up, boo. Ain't nobody got time for this.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
Still love that opening. I still absolutely love that. That guy sounds so that was at the National Socialist Convention. And he was breathing hard. Point of personal privilege, point of personal privilege. The camera is on Murkowski's office, which, by the way, doesn't look very cool. Doesn't look like a nice, just like a white door. It looks like it could be a janitor closet. Maybe that's where Mitch is we'd like you to stay here until you decide how you want to vote, and because it could decide if this is where your permanent home is going to be. Joining us now is the one and only Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research. Jim, we'll get to Iowa, which I think will be more exciting because I think now that Lamar Alexander has put this thing to bed, what's your feeling like this goes? Do we go late into the night and they decide to get it done early tomorrow morning, or are they going to kick it out till maybe right before the State of the Union so Trump can have a big entrance?
Yeah, and also the longer they kick it out, the longer that the Democrat senators got to stay in Washington. I think they'll sneak out over the weekend possibly, but they've got to stay in Washington and they can't campaign in Iowa. And then they can't also look forward to New Hampshire the following week. So hard to say. I would like to get this thing over with as quickly as possible. Let's get the Congress back to the work of the American people rather than this action. I don't think it really looks good for America as a whole. So let's just kind of get it done and dusted and move on to whatever's next.
This is Senator Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, earlier today talking about Lamar.
Even in Senator Alexander's statement announcing his opposition to new evidence, he said that it was proven that the president did what he was accused of.
Yeah, but just, again, proven, but does it rise to the level of impeachment? And that's the way, and removal of office. He's been impeached, but does it rise to the level of removal? And I think that's always been, I don't think people are just discounting whether or not he did what he did. I think anybody who's got half a brain cell can tell, yeah, he did it. But does it rise to the level of removal? That's where we are now.
No, absolutely. And I don't believe that it does. And most of the constitutional scholars that I've spoken with don't believe it has either. And I think even Alan Dershowitz in his argument said, look, even if the president did do this, this isn't an impeachable offense. This isn't how you remove the president from office. He has the discretion to determine whether the aid should have been given out and should there be an inquiry into Ukraine. It's his constitutional duty to make sure that we're not giving aid to corrupt countries. That's all the gentleman wanted to prove. Happened to be Hunter Biden. but just coincidentally. But he just wanted to make sure that we were giving the money to a proper firm or proper country. And even if he did wait on it, he's allowed to do that. The aid showed up. It was within the time frame he was supposed to give it. Don't see there was a real problem there.
Talking to Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research. All right, we put this thing to bed. It's over. It's done. It's dusted. We know that now. Let's move forward. Iowa, Monday night. Let's break it down. First and foremost, there's only 41 delegates. That's not like that. We've talked about this before when we talk about sports. You can't win the Super Bowl in the first week or two, but you could sure lose it if you start falling behind. So it's important to get out of the gates, and especially for whatever reason in Iowa, 7 out of 9 winners of Iowa have gone on to represent the Democratic Party in the presidential race, and a few winners have come from there as well. So it is important, and it looks like right now it's a 2-horse race. Horses that's more of a 2-turtle race because neither of them are moving very fast, but it's a battle of the bees, Bernie and Biden.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if for the last, I believe, 100 years, if you didn't finish 1, 2, or 3 in Iowa and 1, 2 in New Hampshire, you did not get the presidential nomination for the Democrats. So yeah, you've got to come out strong out of there. But like you said, 41 delegates can't really win it there. You can just get yourself a momentum going into the following week. And now, especially because we're really rapid firing these things off. I remember years ago, as a kid, these things used to be maybe a month apart or so between like Iowa and then New Hampshire and then whatever was third. So it was a long period of time. Now they're just rapid firing these things off in a week and a week and a week. So you really got to keep the momentum going because over a couple of weeks, you really can collect a few delegates and you can really keep the momentum going. But yeah, it is Sanders and Biden. If you summarize all the polls over the last month or so in Iowa, you got Bernie up by about 3.5 points. Then you got Buttigieg at 15, a little over 15, and Warren a little under 15. And that's important because when they do the polling in the caucuses, if you don't get to 15%, you're not considered a viable candidate, and then you fall out and you can't be voted for going forward. So it could be interesting because there really hasn't been a period before where we've ever had 4 people make the cut after the first round of the 15% threshold. So Warren, because she just got that endorsement from the Des Moines Register, that she might very well now make that 15% number. So we would have 4 people possibly making it into the second round.
Let's talk about the difference, Jim, between the caucus and the primary. People trying to figure out exactly, okay, how is this different? Do people not vote? Is there no voting at all? Is it just people? Nobody really understands because the caucus is very much a different thing, and you got to be really devoted to be involved in this.
Yeah, and absolutely. This really is different than a primary because you show up at a site and you'll gather in a room and it's going to be about a 3 or 4 hour thing. You're doing it at the end of the day. They start around 7 o'clock, I believe. And so you basically done your day. Then you got to go stand and wait for to get everybody in there. Then they will declare a time. Then they will take a vote. Then they all do all of these all across the state. Then they throw them all into the central to where it's all coordinated out of, and then they'll basically determine, okay, these are now the viable candidates. What also happens is you'll get a lot of alliances in these caucuses, especially in Iowa, where it's like, okay, I'm voting for Gabby or for Gabbard, but she's not going to make the cut. So who's my backup candidate? Who do I vote for second? For example, I know that Klobuchar's got Warren as her backup. So when she doesn't make the cut, then her people are going to go move to Warren. Yang's people are supposedly going to be moving to Sanders if they can convince him to do so. So that's basically what it works. You always have a backup if you're not one of the leading candidates. Now, Biden and Sanders and Buttigieg probably won't because they're going to probably make the cut without a problem. Warren, like I said, right on the border. And they'll do this until they get down to one candidate that has enough votes. And then that will be it. And then they will delegate out they will parse out the delegates based upon those that are still standing at the end.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting talking to Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research. Then we move on to New Hampshire. Now, New Hampshire, unlike this, it seems like kind of a slam dunk. It's Bernie territory. It's Bernie country. Even though he's from Vermont, he seems to have quite a nice lead. And it's it feels like it's a race for second or third before we go to, South Carolina, which feels like that's easily going to be Biden's. But then you get to the unknowns, which is Nevada. And along the way, we haven't mentioned Bloomberg, who, according to the new Wall Street Journal poll, is doing really, really well, which is surprising people.
Yeah, but then again, you throw $100 million at anything, you would think you'd be successful at it. But yeah, going back to starting with New Hampshire the following Tuesday after Iowa, it is Sanders territory, or it is Bernie territory. He's 10 points up right now. Biden's got a couple of 2.5 point lead over Buttigieg in the for number 2, and then it starts trailing off from there. But yeah, Mr. Bloomberg is not going to be coming into the race until Super Tuesday. That's where he's thrown all of his money at. Though he has thrown some money in Nevada, because I was up there for the holidays, and between Tom Steyer and Bloomberg, you were tripping over quite a few advertisements between TV shows up there. So they're throwing a fair amount of money at Nevada, and Bloomberg has thrown $10 million at a Super Bowl ad on Sunday. So you'll be seeing him for a minute, and you'll be seeing Donald Trump for a minute. $10 million for each of those.
Super Tuesday, March 3rd. This is the biggie. I mean, that's what Bloomberg has been really playing up. He feels that he can take enough out of everything that nobody's going to get to that 1,900 plus delegates they need to be the nominee. And then it'll be a contested convention, which is, I think, has been his entire thought all along. Let me make it a contested convention, because then I can get in there and I can really do this.
Yeah, I don't see him being able to do that. Yeah, he's pulling some nice numbers in a lot of states. Now, the Florida number is out of the ordinary. That I think he's pulling like 17%, and that gets him over the 15% threshold. That's the problem that he's going to have in all of the Super Tuesday states and all of the states that he's going to be entered in, is that if you don't pull 15%, you do not get delegates. So even if it's something where somebody gets 70% and no one gets 15, then the person who gets 70 would get the delegates. No one else would pull a delegate from that state, and that's the problem. Of course, the biggest prize on Super Tuesday is California, and right now Bloomberg, for example, is only pulling 4.3%. It's a three-way battle right now between Sanders, Biden, and Warren. They're all around 25 to 20% if you average out all the polls, with Bernie pulling ahead just this week in the latest poll. In California. But I don't see where Bloomberg's going to be strong enough to pull the 15% number. Now, farther down the road, he may be able to do that in New York, but I don't see where he's going to come in with a large number of delegates where he's going to be able to really make a say for it, other than, look, all of you people have been at this for 2 years now. None of you could get a consensus. I'm the consensus candidate. I'm a moderate Democrat. I can beat Trump. That's about the play that he can make if he goes to a brokered convention.
And that's what I think he wants. He wants to go to a convention that's all just like, and you and I both know, man, if you guys don't understand what a broker convention is, it's a plurality. Nobody has it. There's nobody with the majority that need to get over that threshold. So that's when those backroom deals start being made. And I think he thinks he can get back there and make enough deals and bring enough people with him that he can win this thing. I think that is his thing. I don't need to win any of these. If I can stay second, third, and fourth, I've got enough money to carry on. I can do enough damage to take enough away from people that they can't get over that threshold, and then it's up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen a brokered convention in our lifetimes. It would certainly be a very interesting thing to see. And if you really want to see, talk about how politics works, boy, you would certainly get an example of that in a brokered convention. I'm not sure the parties like it because I don't think it makes them look good, but it certainly would be interesting. And the way with the four people still running as strongly as they are, it is possible that we could get to one because, like you said, we're talking about Bernie, and then Biden, and then Nevada we don't have a lot of polling data on. So yeah, you could come out with no huge and no decisive leader after the first four primaries, where you've got somebody at that point, and you're down to two people. And this may not be the case. So it definitely has that potential this year to be a brokered convention.
Talking to Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute for Public Policy Research. We've got about a minute and a half here. I want to get through a couple quick questions. The Democrats aren't fans of Bernie, and we always forget to mention this, but we've got to mention these magical super delegates. And Bernie doesn't trust the Democrats. The Democrats probably don't really like Bernie, but superdelegates absolutely are going to play a role in this.
Right, but they will play a smaller role than they did in 2016 because they did get concessions from the party after he felt that they were really jobbed, shall we say, by the superdelegates and Hillary.
Because he was!
Well, okay, yes. I'm not saying that Bernie is paranoid. Bernie has a reason to be upset, and because Hillary lined up all those superdelegates. I mean, it's so bad the Gabbard left. I mean, she wouldn't even stay as a co-chair of the party because she thought that Bernie had been treated so bad.
Yeah, crazy. Last question. Super Bowl this weekend. You've got the Chiefs. You've got the 49ers. Give us a pick, brother.
Well, I'm a lifelong Rams fan, so there's no way I could pull for the 49ers. So I'm saying Kansas City Chiefs 31-23.
As always, man, appreciate you coming on. You have yourself a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next week and go over Iowa and look forward to New Hampshire.
Thanks, Chad. Have a good one.
Thanks, man. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
As John Krasinski and Chris Evans try to sell you cars on Sunday.
Look who's got Smart Pack.
And Lil Nas X and Sam Elliott chill for Doritos.
Make your move, cowboy.
Advertisers spent a fortune to try and grab your attention Super Bowl Sunday, as much as $5.6 million for a 30-second spot. And all 77 slots are sold out, and it's well worth it in a time where TV audiences are falling in record numbers. The Super Bowl still easily pulls an audience of over 100 million. That's a lot of eyeballs watching Post Malone sell Budweiser.
So you got Bud Light
back there.
One of the ads you'll see this weekend is from a guy named David McNeil. His golden retriever named Scout was given a month to live. The 7-year-old dog had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, but McNeil refused to give up. Said, nope, I'm not giving up. His dog was saved. What happened? He decided to thank the vets. So he spent $6 million on a commercial. He's the CEO of WeatherTech. The ad highlights his Scout's cancer treatment, his journey to raise money for the University of Wisconsin veterinarian program. The 30-second ad is titled Lucky Dog. It will air during the second quarter this weekend. That's pretty cool. Outside of that, not a lot going on. Guess what happens on a weekend like this weekend in the world of movie releasing? You don't.
Traditionally a sleepy time at the box office, and this year, no exception. 2 new movies opening wide.
I need your help to find the ones who did this.
The poorly reviewed Blake Lively spy thriller The Rhythm Section is expected to make less than $10 million.
Tell me the fairy tale again.
And Gretel and Hansel, a dark take on the classic children's tale, is getting better reviews, but will also have trouble cracking $10 million. Expect a third weekend at number 1 for Bad Boys for Life.
One last time. One last time.
Yeah, next week it changes big time with Birds of Prey, right? That's Harley Quinn's Birds of Prey that will pop out, and that'll do really, really, really well. And then you'll start to see stuff starting to come, roll big time. Sonic the Hedgehog, Fantasy Island looks really weird and good. We think of Fantasy Island as, Ricardo Montalban and Hervé Villachez and the plane. Welcome to Fantasy Island. This is going in a different direction. Blumhouse, the one who makes all the horror movies, they've bought it, and this is going to be something totally different. Totally different. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We are divided as a nation. That much is true because of all that is going on. You and I both understand that. But this weekend we will come together in some ways, and that is with the Super Bowl. Throw out my prediction right now. It's going to be an interesting one. You got 2 teams that are, well, really, one team that is completely balanced in what they do. One team whose defense is not great, but better than it was last year. But an offense that is just frightening. But the way I always look at sports and the way I've always been told is defense wins championships. This weekend, here's my prediction. The 49ers have what it takes to get by the Chiefs. As much as I love Patrick Mahomes, the reality is they've got 4 guys up front led by Joey Bosa who's going to be able to get to him. They don't need extra help. They can double guys everywhere, which is going to take a lot away. Patrick Mahomes' legs may be the difference in some portions of this game, but I think defense wins championships, and the 49ers' offense is good, not great, has the potential to be great, but Kansas City's defense is potential to be okay, and that's not going to get it done. I predict 38-27, San Francisco 49ers grab another trophy and put it in their giant trophy case. Have yourself a wonderful, amazing weekend. We will do it again on Monday. Impeachment may be over. We'll have the caucus, and we'll talk about the Super Bowl. Have a great weekend, as always. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.